So your musical training, I mean, obviously there was that sort of hands-on experience that you had with the trombone in particular. Did you take lessons? Did you take piano lessons, that sort of thing?
No, I've always regretted that. I wish I had taken piano lessons, but when I was growing up, the family didn't have lots of money, and it was everything was sort of focused on the army, and brass was where it was at, So,
but obviously you read music. You're literate.
Read music and I mean, I learned over the years, thanks to CBC, the best way to learn how to read orchestral scores is sitting in an editing room 8 hours a day, 7 days a week, sort of thing.
Yeah. So when did you first? I mean, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but when did you first become familiar with orchestral scores?
Well, I fell in love with the orchestra while I was still in public school. They had Toronto Symphony would send out these smaller orchestras around to the different schools, and so when I was probably grade 6 or 7, I got exposed to an orchestra for the first time, and it just blew me away. I couldn't, I loved the sound of it and the music, and that started my love affair with orchestras. And then, I started, playing in the band. I was reading band scores. I could sort that out, but it was later on that I actually started learning to read orchestral scores now. But my love of orchestral music goes right back to, early teenager.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Of course, playing the trombone is not a transposing instrument, so you didn't have to deal with all the intricacies of that.
No, that's the thing. And some of my professional friends find it mind-boggling. But see, the brass band came up through the British, the Industrial Revolution, and it was a way of getting miners and whatnot some extracurricular activity. So what they did was all of the brass band scores to this day, even bands like Black Dyck and all these prize-winning bands, the tradition of brass band scoring is that it's non-transposing, so that basically the idea was that you could learn one set of fingering and you could play any instrument in the band. So if you look at the tuba part, the tubas are written in treble clef, but sort of what they're playing is two octaves lower than what's written. But in my experience, I've worked with people in the band who went one week they were playing solo cornet, next week they were playing double B bass, and the only instrument in the brass band who's actually playing what's written is the bass trombone, which is for some reason they wrote it in bass clef.
Oh yeah.
But that's the only instrument that's actually playing what's written.
Well, it actually makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, the whole business of transposing instruments. I sometimes keep wondering why does that tradition continue? Except to drive students like me when I was studying conducting, having learned to play sight read scores and that sort of thing, transposing clarinets and A and clarinets and B flat and French horns and whatnot, you see.
Yeah.
And